is about Planspire, the most simple, effortless, and accurate way to plan today's meetings and events, planspire.com. Hello, everyone. I'm Deborah Gardner, host to the #1 hospitality show for all the hospitality world out there, Hospitality Today Live, where my amazing guests actually share real life topics, opinions, stories, lessons, and so much more. And today we continue that promise with my very good longtime friends, the global award winners, Don and Dr. Dina Preston-Ortiz with DEO Entertainment Group. Watch as they tell their incredible love story, performing as street musicians to successfully performing in 43 countries, 26 global tours without management or even a record deal. How is that possible? Well, according to their book, learn from their firsthand experience and perspectives on business strategies for today's turbulent and shifting global hospitality market. And watch how they managed the talent, find excellence, adapt to difficult and controversial situations, and even receive a helicopter view of some profitable leadership skills that keep your customers coming back for more. So get ready. It's going to be a wild ride, and I can't wait with Don and Dr. Dina Preston-Ortiz. And let's start out by having you check this out. From Bourbon Street to Abbey Road, I can't wait to see you again. Can't wait to Mexico. I can't wait to see you. From Bourbon Street to Abbey Road, I can't wait to see you again. Can't wait to Mexico. I can't wait to see you again. Wow, that is an incredible video. Well, welcome to Hospitality Today Live, Don and Dina. So happy that you are here.
Hey, everyone. How you doing out there in the hospitality world?
Much better now that I've seen you, that's for sure, and able to get this this broadcast up and going, since we had 2 little glitches going on there. But hey, welcome to the events world, right?
That's right.
What glitches?
Well, we know each other through the meetings and events segment of the hospitality world for a number of years. And I must say, I've always been very, very fortunate and lucky to watch you both grow from newbies in the industry to being famous worldwide now. And on top of that, you both have the talent of contributing to both not only business, but also to marriage. And how do you keep that relationship sparking and alive?
That's a good question. Yeah, we've been together. We started with 31 cents in our pockets, and we've been together for 31 years.
Wow.
So yeah, I actually hired Don to play, be my lead guitar player in my road band. And so that's how we actually met.
I broke my own rule and married her.
Right.
The singer of the band, but he did. He broke his own rule. But yeah,
right. And I love this story because it is, to me, a love story, and how you can do business and marriage together is just a triumph in itself. It's amazing. My husband and I are trying to do a home watch business together, and we'll see how that goes. But it can be very, very tough. But I love the fact that you're able to, be on the move together in many, many things that you do together. And I know this book that you've actually had me read as well, 31 Cents to 43 Countries.
Awesome.
Love this book. Thank you so much for allowing me the time to read it. It was a good move, especially with, you have other interests. I know, Don, you're a great photographer at the same time. I remember when you called me about putting this book together, and I believe you worked with my good friend Mark to help create it. Explain the title, 31 cents to 43 countries.
Well, actually, we literally started with 31 cents between the two of us, not just one of us. That's all we had between the two of us. I had actually got a hefty fine when we were coming back across the United States. And the last toll road, for those who remember toll roads or there, the last toll road was 50 cents, and we literally had 31 cents in our pocket. So needless to say, we didn't pay the toll. And back then they didn't have cameras or anything. It was just a flashing, red light. But still, that's all we had between us to really start our business and everything else that we have inspired to do today.
And look where you are today. This is great. And I learned so much about you. Dina, you, we both, you and I have experienced San Francisco. I think that's where your book really starts out, about your background. And I was there working in the hotel industry, which happens to be the Park 55 Hotel, overlooking where you lived in the Tenderloin.
Yes.
And you started your business, to the doctorate degree, to teaching students successfully. I mean, you must learn a lot from your students at the same time. And in the book, you mentioned one of the first lessons, the importance of finding, was your internal compass. And can you explain that and talk about your background back then?
Sure. I'd be happy to. So I started as landed on the Tenderloins in San Francisco, and my goal was to go to Berkeley. When I got there, I realized I didn't have enough money for tuition. So I started at City College instead. And so in between classes, a colleague of my friend of mine, musician friend of mine, student, said, let's busk. And, while we're here in San Francisco, let's go down and make our living busking. So I was game. We went down. We made Ripley's Believe It or Not, which, if you remember that, up there on Fisherman's Wharf, was our home. So in between classes, we went down and we busked for a living. But I think what I learned was that by finding my talent and finding my internal compass, that really was my pathway, my guide to what I was going to do for the rest of my life. But that wasn't enough. So when I stopped performing, moved down to San Diego and started my first country rock band, I realized I really wasn't professional enough to work in the industry. And I remember an agent telling me, you've got some talent, but you're not seasoned enough. You don't have enough background yet. And of course I argued with her in my head, but in the end she was right. So I realized I needed to go back to school to learn how to sing properly. And so I did. I studied voice for 3 years. So it was that internal compass that guided me to my pathway today, but it wasn't enough. I needed to enhance that talent. And so I tell my students that if you have a natural talent, find the best way to enhance that, whether it's school, whether it's taking lessons, whether it's going on YouTube and finding out how to do something, which is, so available now. It's not available, available when I went to school. And Don was the same way. Don started learning guitar at 6. He always say he's Delawarean by way of Puerto Rico. So his godfather only spoke Spanish, and he taught Don how to play guitar because exchanging music was a way that they spoke to each other, because Don spoke English, his godfather spoke Spanish. And then he actually went to Woodstock at 9. Can you believe that?
So hearing Jimi Hendrix, as you can imagine, on a Monday morning as it's pouring rain as a 9-year-old kid, how inspiring that was for me to hear something totally new. None of us heard at that time, especially a guitar playing Star Spangled Banner.
Well, I went back to school to learn voice. I studied voice. Don actually went another route and listened to other really awesome guitar players. I was already playing lead guitar by the age of 12 and 13. He was actually in his first band at 13, playing lead guitar. So the point is, find your talent, hone in on it, learn it, make it the best. I still study voice. Don still studies guitar. We still study business. It's never enough, right? You always want to hone in on that skill and learning how to really pinpoint your focus to be the best that you possibly can be, not only for yourselves, but for your clients and your customers.
Right, exactly. And I have to agree with that because, and it worked for you because you weren't a trained singer, and Don, you had to learn guitar, but it was a match made in heaven because the two of you, when you got together, and I've got to show this picture of the two of you.
1989.
I love this picture.
So funny. Oh my gosh.
It's just adorable of the two of you. And to come together because you pretty much were opposites attract, because I think, Dina, you were a little bit, rock and roll, right? And Don, you were country, or vice versa?
Vice versa.
Yeah, she was very country and I was very
country.
rock and rollish.
I wanted to be in my country band, and you don't want to do it.
Yeah, in fact, I didn't even want to join the band when my friend first told me. He said, "Oh, they're a country band." I said, "I don't think so."
But hey, I had 8 months of contracts.
Yes, so that was very
Jing,
attractive. Learned 52 country songs and went on the road with her band
2
in
days.
2 days.
Yeah.
Wow.
Talk about a crash course of country music.
Yeah, I bet. But yet what you did, Don, to train yourself and learn and study guitar, and you mentioned you were at Woodstock at the age of 9, attending that at the age of 9. I mean, and then going from your very first real gig together in Alaska for 10 weeks. I mean, the rest is history. I mean, it's just amazing. And I'm wondering, Don, from especially that Woodstock, how did that change everything for you?
Well, it changes your toolbox, as you can imagine. As Dina said, you're constantly learning and you're upgrading your toolbox. So that was one more thing for me to put on the list. I mean, let's face it, music is genres and formulas. Whether it's jazz, country, rock, or contemporary music, it's all formulas. And once you learn the formulas, then you're able to, move forward. And also our palette got bigger.
Yeah.
So, and it changed our band dynamic from being a country band to a variety band to being a jazz band to being a funk band to being a rock band. Then we became a band that could read the event. So any event that we do, we customize in real time. We've never used a set list in 31 years. We find they don't work. If you say you're going to play a certain 12 songs that when you first get out there, they don't work. So
you have a group coming from Europe. They like the ambiance of the Western thing, but the minute that's done with, which is about an hour, they want to start rocking and rolling and partying and having a good time.
Yeah, if you're Motown, they want to hear their favorites that they know.
So you got to switch. You've got to be able to switch. And the industry really taught us that. You've got to switch on a dime, and you've got to be in the moment to make sure that you're taking care of your clients.
Yeah, you really do.
Because they become faithful, because they know that you become a trust bond and a brand that they can always count on. And to us, that's been our long-term longevity, is that we look forward to playing 2 hours overtime.
And we merged our talents, which are from very different backgrounds musically, but then we also learned to merge our musicians' talents. And so that gave us a much broader range of offerings, product offerings and services that we can give to our clients. And of course, to the event planners and to goers of the events.
And globally. So we can fit anybody in any market space. And that is really important. That's why we've been around so long.
Yeah, and so I think your audience is very, diverse. I've seen you perform live, and you're able to, hit the hospitality market, but then you can, do other markets and other, worldwide. I mean, just reading your book, which I really liked and very entertaining, the stories that you had throughout the book. I mean, I know you're recognized on a grand monument in Arizona. But a lot of musicians don't do what you do. They're just a band. They'll just like you said, you got to go above and beyond for your customers. But what you did and what you've been doing has been an amazing journey, a complete amazing. I mean, you're working abroad over 30 years, different audiences, different cultures, skill sets, demographics, budgets, communication wise, over all these different countries, and I'm a Marine brat and I understand the military life, but and I didn't go to Vietnam like my dad did, but you all have been everywhere. I mean, literally everywhere. You have performed for people like ambassadors, presidents, soldiers, the Department of Defense, Armed Forces, U.S. State Department, and even Fortune 500 companies, along with speaking to them as well. And to balance those cultures have got to be a gift in order to do that. And you have taken on challenges and turned them into opportunities and solutions, like being in dangerous war zones and I mean, look at this. I'm reading some of this because I took like 3 pages of notes from your book. You're flying in a C-130 beast of an airplane to Operation Desert Storm, or being part of a 7-hour convoy in Bosnia, being in 19 degrees below freezing weather in Russia, to stealing a gold bracelet in Turkey, which, Don, you're going to have to tell us about that story. Going and helping others. You're in Korea, you got your gear pallet was removed from a plane to make room for a casket of a colonel who suffered a heart attack. You turned into a 4-day ordeal for you, Don, that was left behind. I mean, tell us about some of these times and how the best planned tours require on-the-spot problem solving.
So our favorite, Deborah, is probably imagine yourself flying into the cold mountains of Afghanistan as leaders of a band of civilian musicians during wartime, and nobody knows that you're coming. You land and nobody knows that you're there. You've got no escort, you have no food, you have no lodging, and there's no performances scheduled. So as band leaders, we've got to figure out very quickly how to take care of those pieces. And one of the things that we did was we looked at the whole and we started dividing it up into parts, because we found that we could manage the parts much quicker than we could by getting overwhelmed by the whole. So when we couldn't find food, Don took his guitar. He made friends with the Jordanian minesweepers that were, tented next door to us. And every night they would cook fresh food on open pits. At that time, we literally would sit out and sing for our supper and exchange instead of getting rations, right? With tobacco, we actually got fresh food every night by befriending the Jordanian minesweepers and playing for our supper.
Yeah, you don't want to be eating REMs all the time, ready to eat meals, unless you got lots of Tabasco. So,
right. But even the challenge of the gold bracelet, Don, I mean, that was a story in itself.
Well, it was crazy because I had actually purchased the bracelet and I told the gentleman that I was going to trade him a difference of price with a CD and a poster, and he agreed to it. Right. So all of a sudden he ends up on our military base and I'm called down by the general. There's something happening. I need you to come here to our office. I get there and it's the store owner and the keeper. And he said that I was going to give him a CD player, not a CD. And the general looked at him and said, we can't do those kind of trades. We're not allowed to. He said, so I'm sure the gentleman told you a CD and not a CD player. And at that time, the manager who owned the store actually slapped him in the head and just caught us all off by guard because he took him away from job of making more money.
I think the key there is that, even in the event industry, you have to listen. You have to pair it back and forth to make sure that you're understanding what the deal with the negotiation is. And that was a really great, although it ended up okay, that was a really great lesson for us to learn how to do
communication,
especially in different cultures.
And we've had all those kind of situations happen, from power being wrong to different places to not understanding production. Then you're also looking at culture, language. Sometimes we've gotten where the communication can be, bogged down and not understood.
Or there's resource issues. You end up sending the resources that you need for an event, let's say in Russia. When you get there, the resources just aren't there for you. And so how do you maneuver through that when you're supposed to play in 5 minutes and you don't have the equipment that you need? Right. So you have to get into action pretty quickly by scanning the environment and looking for things that will help you solve those problems very quickly. Yeah.
I think one of my favorite was when was getting lost in Singapore. Dina, you were going one way and the band was going the other way. I mean, it's just amazing how you have to almost anticipate these things happening. So do you have like team meetings with everybody in the band prior to each trip?
We do now. We didn't then, but that's one of the things that we learned. And when we did, that was actually our first challenge, being on the road with the Department of Defense. As they sent us to Singapore on our first trip when they're supposed to send us back to LA. We had no way to get in, no visas, and they're actually taking our equipment off the pallet. Don ran down and got on the phone, tried to call the Department of Defense. In the meantime, I'm trying to negotiate with the loadmaster not to remove our equipment because we would have been stuck.
And you're looking at time difference. I mean, I'm calling, Department of Defense in Washington, D.C. We're in Singapore.
But here's the thing, Deborah, we were able to solve that by working together, as partners and also with our team. And as a result of that, because we were able to maneuver through that so successfully, that actually set up a 15-year relationship with the Department of Defense where we got work. Yeah, we got work. And they're one of the main reasons we traveled so often.
because we were able to problem solve in the moment, they found that they could send us out and that we are a trust bond instantly.
So for me, having issues like this, and if you're dependable and you can come through, that shows your character, and that shows, especially in the event industry, that people can trust you, and that no matter what, it's going to be a positive outcome. And we think
Right.
that's important.
Right. And you even mentioned, Dina, that laughter is a great way to make it through difficult situations. And I think one of my favorite parts of the book had to do when you were talking about the general up on stage singing, "Man, I feel like a woman."
And you know, as Don likes to share, it's the only time in the military when we're doing shows, or when we have done shows, that, you know, the general military public don't have to say yes or no, sir, how high, sir, and we get them up to saying, "Man, I feel like a woman." And it's just essential. It's a way to relax, and just, it's such a sense of laughter and joy. And we still have gotten emails that, you know, from military soldiers that said, "We will never forget that time. We still smiled watching our senior members up there."
Yeah, because it's the only time they get relief. You know, and as you know, being in the military family, you know, everybody loses their nickname in that time. Everybody's got a nickname in the military.
Right.
And that they also represent their county, their state, their country. So in that short time, we're really transforming them home.
I think we have to not be, I mean, what we do is important. We want to make sure that we're on top. We want to make sure that we deliver value at all times, but we also should not be taking ourselves so seriously.
Right.
Life is just too short. You got to have a smile. You got to have a
Oh,
laugh. Even when things go wrong.
How do you
Oh,
create
yeah.
laughter? A general saying, "Man, I feel like a woman," in front of his troops.
That is a classic. I would love to be there to see that, and I'm sure you probably got it on video. But I think it's just a great way, like you said, to really ease up and take things not as seriously. I do have some photos though to show of some of your travels, which I think is really fun. Tell us about this one.
That was our second time going to the pyramids. Actually, we had played in
Nice.
Egypt. What a great, the Mediterranean and Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
I've actually played for the president of Mozambique, Africa, on that tour.
And this
That's
is one
amazing.
Of the tours, that was one of the tours. This was actually recently. We just went to the inauguration, and we were going to a black tie dinner that evening to support our veterans. They were raising money for veterans with COVID-19.
Oh,
So we flew to Washington, D.C.
Nice.
In January, and went to the black tie dinner. We were supposed to go to the gala across the street from the White House, but of course everything was canceled as a result of January 6th, but they still had the dinner. And
right.
So
this is us with the National Guard
in our hotel room, because, you know,
Nice.
Washington was filled with National Guard at the time.
And so we asked them, "Hey, would you guys take a picture with us? And we love your support," and told them what we did. And they said instantly, yes.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this one's really a fun one with Alice Cooper and the cable guy. I love this. When was this?
That was that's to your left. Actually, that's standing next to the cable guy is Feeway Bill. He's the lead singer for the Tubes. The next to the cable guy is Don Felder of the Eagles. And then of course me, Dina, Alice, and Neil, who was the drummer of Alice Cooper's band and the lead guitarist at the end of Kiss. So that was Alice Cooper's 70th birthday that we were invited to.
Oh my goodness, that is great. And I've got a couple other band.
Oh, our 10
photos.
Band. This was unbelievable because we actually got to perform for the Guinness World Book of Records. It was 6,500 people renewing their wedding vows.
Oh my goodness.
It was really awesome.
And that was an awesome event to be a part of. And of course, getting 6,500 people on their feet and having a great time was just a blast.
That was right at the time.
Yeah, at Phoenix International Raceway.
That is fun.
Names now, but that's what it was at the time. Yeah, it was great. We really enjoyed it.
That's fun. Well, out of all the travels, was there any favorite country of yours?
No, I love them all.
Love them all. There are different cultures. There's different music that we also collect. And then, of course, haggling for rugs and things like that in Turkey and Saudi Arabia and Oman. Those are just treasure times. And, of course, meeting the folks that are out there are more important to us. And what's better, they still keep in touch today.
You know, we learned so much. Haggling for rugs actually taught us how to create platforms of respect. We learned that actually in the rug shops as the merchants, you know, developed relationships with us in order to get us to purchase. I mean, we learned a lot actually by traveling and watching what other people
Yeah,
do.
because first you start with tea. You're always going to learn how to sit down and be cordial with each other and find out a little about each other. And then they sort of like point around the room and see what your eye candy is like. And then they start pulling out pieces, and then you start negotiating. So it's really a neat way to do business. And,
but it's through that tea that you really learn about what your clients want, what your customers want, and then you can produce whatever that product or service is based on that. And it doesn't take long, but it does take a few minutes just to sit down and listen. Again, really important in creating those relationships and platforms of respect.
Yeah.
A simple thing like handing your business card to somebody. As you know, in other cultures, they will study that card front to back and then sit down with that card in front of them while they're talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's a matter of respect that you've put the time and effort into your card and what you represent through that card, and then how they're proceeding with you going forward.
Right. Well, and that's so nice to associate music to business, because when it comes down to it, they're pretty much the same. And I think business dealings are the same as music. So it's really nice to associate with that. We did have some questions too in the chat, and I think I want to bring this into the show. And I think this is from Lisa Raymond. She said, once at the gig, what differentiates you from other bands?
So I think it's certainly our experience and our experience with the global community, but also the idea that we can customize, and we do customize every single performance based on the audience needs.
Every event.
Like Don said, we do not use a set list. I challenge you to find any band that does not use a set list. It's very rare indeed. We read the crowd at the moment that it's happening.
Plus, we understand forks and knives music. A lot of bands don't understand it's not about you. It's about your client. And we learned a long time ago, it's not about us. It's about how we make the room better. How do we make the ambiance better? How do we make the experience better? It's all about the experience that you have at that moment in the evening, and no two events are ever the same. We're clients.
Right. We really are a representation of our clients for the end user. And so it's very important that we represent that at all times.
And that's the nice part about it, is that we're customizing, and let's face it, as you know, things happen. They want to do an announcement. Things change. They moved up the speaking time. We're there for them at all points. And then the other part is keep them engaged. That's what we know how to do.
When appropriate. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you're a background band.
Yeah.
And so we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing for the right event at the right time.
And volume's a big deal too.
It just can go on and on and on. And I think finding ways to innovate yourself is kind of watching your competition, what they're doing as well. And you guys must have done that, because there is no one that does what you do. And I think you've branded yourself, you provided the ROI for your client, and you brought the value to a whole new level that I would think a lot of other bands, music bands, would be watching you more than you watching them.
We've been trained by the best. I mean, think about it, Deborah. We were trained by the event industry fairly early. So we understand the protocols and etiquettes that come with working within the event industry, which is totally different from being on tour or working in a nightclub. Totally different.
Or being a headline.
And then we were trained by the Department of Defense, right? So they get the culture, they get the, being on time. And then we were trained by the U.S. State Department, talk about culture and learning how, the importance of culture and music and culture and keynote speaking. So, we're lucky that we've really been trained by the very best of the best in terms of industry.
Really?
That's great. That makes all the world of the difference. And embracing that training, embracing learning. We all can be students to so many different ways, and you can intermix what you learn into your business and to music. So you might as well take advantage of what you can learn from anyone out there.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
We didn't start out at the top of our field. We learned from the best of the best in the hospitality industry at the time.
Right.
What are these meeting planners doing? What are these entertainment companies doing? How can we do it, and how can we do it better?
Right. Why are they hiring that group? Things like that. So finding out and knowing how to turn around an event to make it successful has been our brand.
Right.
Really has been.
Yeah. And you do it very, very well. Recently you both were asked, you were just on Ask D Pros, a business show, and you mentioned, you talked about when you discovered there's a business above and beyond just your talents. Can you share with our viewers today, what does that look like and how do they go about that if they need to look above and beyond just their talents? How do they do that?
So one of the things that I do is we reach out to our team members. That's really important. We work not only with our team members, our musicians, our meeting event planners, our destination companies, but we also listen to our customers. We go through the pipeline to see what needs are not being met and how we can meet those needs, or whether we have the resources to meet those needs. And I think that's a great way to go about finding out how to deliver above and beyond what just your talent is. I think also education is really important, like Don shared with you all. We not only want to make sure that we're honing in our talents, but we want to continue to get educated. So my background's in marketing, and as you know, the marketing field is just ripe with technology. It never ends. I just took a program at MIT for data analytics in spring. And I'm thinking, wow, I got to take another one this spring, because as soon as you learn something in technology and marketing, it's updating all the time. So it's always a learning process. You don't have to take formal classes. Don learns much differently than I do as a musician, right? So for him, it's auditory and visual. So he's always looking for the latest, greatest video out there where he can be honing in on his skill set as well. But listen to your distribution channel members, listen to your customers, listen to your team members. Your frontline workers oftentimes know right immediately what's going on and what needs to be fixed, right? Because they're dealing with the customer on a day-to-day basis.
Right. Good points. Very good points. Now, in the book, you also talked about our future, because, you taught students, and in particular, you were talking about the millennial generation. How are you impacting that next generation? What's the message about when it comes to communication with the millennials?
So oftentimes communication with millennials can be a challenge. They like to communicate differently than we do as baby boomers. So what I share with our customers and with our clients is that we have to find a middle ground. First and foremost, if you understand the communication model, if you're trying to get business, you have to communicate based on the end user's communication needs. So if I'm trying to book an event with a millennial, then if they prefer to text, if they prefer instant messaging, that is the vehicle I need to use. If I'm the client, then the millennial will need to adjust based on what my communication needs are. And if you're working as a team, which often happens, you need to find some middle ground, and you can do that by mentoring. So I work with all age groups as a professor, from very young IT people all the way to baby boomers. And so we oftentimes will mentor one another. So while a younger millennial might be mentoring me on how to use IT or the right technology for communication, I'm going to be mentoring them on the protocols and etiquettes in terms of making sure they're returning phone calls, that they're constantly communicating with us, that they can't just let communication go into an abyss, or communicate when they're ready or they feel like it. And that's especially important in the event industry. We've learned early on that you have to respond fairly quickly. And if you're working in multicultural environments where there might be different timing methods for communication, then as a team, you can come up with a way, find some sort of middle ground. So maybe you're not responding in 2 seconds like we do here in the US, but maybe it's a 24 or 48 hour turnaround. But again, you come to that conclusion, you talk about that as a team to figure out the best middle ground.
That makes a lot of sense. And when you talk about multicultural, you had this experience, Dina, in Saudi Arabia. You actually had new perspective for being there, because, women, they're not fond of women, and here you are the head of the band. But you actually had a really good quote when you said, failure is not a result of change, but the inability of leaders to take advantage of change to find new perspectives. Right. What was the new perspectives behind your experience in Saudi Arabia, especially when it had to do with that death document?
Yes. So Deborah, so my background, I have an undergraduate degree in women's studies. So you can imagine I have no problem, like most of us in the event industry, so many females that, like being leaders, we're comfortable being leaders. So when I hit to Saudi Arabia and I got off the plane as a manager of the band, because I handled all the logistics. Don did other things musically, but I handled the logistics. And so the immigration officer was having none of it. I mean, he wouldn't even look me in the eye. He kept saying, who's the manager? We need to process us. And I kept saying, I am. And he kept shaking his head. Nope, I'm not going to be dealing with you. At that point, I realized that I had to step back, and Don was watching this whole thing, and he stepped forward. So our roles had to change, and I had to be okay with that. Not only did our roles change and Don became the face of the group, but I also legally had to walk behind him. So I had to walk 3 steps behind him. I was not able to go into restaurants. I had to be completely covered. And so that perspective or that experience really taught me not to be judgmental until you've walked in other shoes. And while as a Western female, I didn't particularly enjoy that or enjoy the process, I also learned that as a female, I was accorded different types of respect that I normally would not get here in the United States. And so you just have to kind of step back and take things into perspective to learn new ways of doing things. And I learned a lot by being able to do that.
Oh, yeah. And with your background knowledge in that really helped prepare you for that and to go to other cultures and learn the way they want to do business with you. You have to, you're in their territory, you're in their domain.
And not judgmental. I mean, there are a lot of women that want to be under the veil, and you have to respect that. If that's what their choice is, you have to respect that from a religious standpoint and from a cultural standpoint. And
absolutely.
Something else don't be so judgmental.
Right.
Through that experience also, we actually ended up meeting a person who brought us back to Saudi Arabia. And as you know, as people change and go to different platforms or move to other companies, they take you with them. And we were fortunate enough when he chose to go someplace else. He took us to Brussels, and he took us to Honduras, Guantanamo Bay, Puerto Rico, and South Korea. So it's all about the relationship that we've been really good about culturing that relationship long term.
Yeah, I agree.
Moving through the chaos successfully.
A lot of chaos. I mean, landmines, flying into Afghanistan.
Yes.
We were literally flying into Charles de Gaulle when the shoe bomber was flying out.
Unbelievable. And today, the way the travel is definitely changed. When you get back on the road, it's going to definitely look different. As a matter of fact, Intercontinental Hotels Group actually did a survey, and they found out that 40% of U.S. workers say the lack of travel demotivates them. And 41% say that it helps them work smarter. So I'm sure when we get back on the road, we're going to be a lot more smarter at how we travel. And I think we're going to be presented a lot of new things, especially technology-wise, that's going to help that as well. I believe they're coming out with an international digital health passport. What do you think of that?
I'm anything that makes it easy, but I always say carry a backup just in case, because we actually have had digital things go bad. And so if you're trying to get on a plane and you can't show that you had your COVID shot, right, because your phone's not working, or, always have a backup.
I can't get a signal, How many times have we been in countries like that or been in a spot, That's
always my fear.
I'm always for digital, but I always share to make sure that you have the paper backup or copy of even with our passports, we always carry a copy with us.
Especially for us. I mean, we've had so many different shots, you can imagine.
Yeah. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine. So you're used to that, no doubt. But I think it's going to be better when we return, don't you think?
Yeah. Like I said, we just flew to Washington, and it seemed better. The flights, the plane was clean and new, and there was a lot more technology inside the plane. So yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be better. I think we're getting better. The flight industry is getting better,
Yeah.
And it's going to definitely change the hotel hospitality industry as well, as we all know. So we're all making each other aware and updating that, and staying involved with each other. And the communication right now is unbelievable.
Right. And it is going to be very competitive. When the doors open, the floodgates are just going to flow like crazy. And you couldn't be in more of a competitive industry when it comes to music. And with only 31 cents that helped you become successful to get where you are today, what are some of the things, like maybe 3 things that our viewers can learn from you on the business aspects of it?
So I think first and foremost in our industry, you have to create platforms of respect. And you can do that by placing individual needs aside for your client's goal or for collective goals. We need to find shared value by listening well and paraphrasing key negotiation points. That always helps for us. And then in the end, for us and for all of us in the event industry, we have to create memorable experiences. We need to do that in order to create bonds with our clients and also from the seller side so that we create these long-term relationships. We also need to learn how to lead effectively in virtual environments of constant change. And what we've learned through the years is that leadership really is a collective function, and leaders need to know when to step back and lead and when to follow. And we do that based on expertise. And I remember once we had a client that booked us for a disco event, and the clients were well over 80, 70s and 80s. It was not the right event. And at that time, we had gotten the music ready for it, but we had a particular keyboard player who graduated from Berkeley and knew the music that this particular demographic wanted to listen to. And at that time, we came together as a group. We stepped back as leaders of the band and we let him lead because we knew that he was going to be able to provide the best outcome for the client and again for us. And then finally, the other thing that we've learned in this industry is we have to rapidly problem solve. And oftentimes we have to do that with limited resources. And so we have to clearly define what the problem is quickly and not the symptoms of the problem. We often will develop contingency plans so that we can empower our frontline workers to be able to respond to these issues. And then the other thing that I think Don does really well is that he scans the environment for opportunities. I remember once getting lost in South Korea, literally lost on the highway, and he actually scanned the environment and he found
I found a helicopter, and they stuck me with a green driver who actually had me stuck in the rice paddies. I was in the middle of the field and people were yelling at me. And the only way I found out where we were going to go was following a helicopter on the highway that took us to the base.
So he scanned the environment, he found that resource, and he followed it through to get him to a positive end. And sometimes you just have to hang on. Sometimes when you're scanning the environment, there might not be a resource that you can readily grab onto. So I say hang on because usually, most likely, something's going to come through for you so you can rapidly solve that issue.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So instead of following the sun, you followed the helicopter.
Right?
That's right.
And it got him to the base.
Got me to the
That
base.
makes sense.
Yeah, scan the environment, right?
Wow, totally scan the environment. And in the hospitality industry, that is a gold mine to think about, because planners have to do that. They have to scan it and determine, what if, and if it does, and how they're going to handle it. And that's tough to do, but yet if you're ahead of the game, and like you said, just keep your eyes open and be aware of your surroundings, anything's possible to solve.
And sometimes that resource is right there. I mean, who would have guessed by looking up the helicopter and Don thinking to himself, that helicopter is going to base, that will get us to where we need to go.
Yeah.
Problem solved, right?
I totally agree. Totally agree. Well, those are three very, very important aspects, especially when it comes to business. And I know you go through it in more detail into the book as well. So that was just a scan of that environment. But I also want to, the hardcore tips that you have in the back of each chapter really sets the stage from all the stories that you share with us. And that is so appreciative because it really brings everything back around to not only the experiences that you went through, but what you learned from it in order to pass it on to readers like myself. And I just think that is brilliant. And so you also, at the end of your book, talk about, the foundation and your give back, especially during these difficult times. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So we're really big in giving back to our community because we believe that our community supports the work that we do. So one of the things that we do is we work with small business owners and professionals. Along with the team of mine at work, I developed a small business startup certificate. So we work with Fresh Start Women's Foundation, and we actually have a class, a cohort going right now. So when the students graduate, they're going to graduate with a business plan, and then they go right into small businesses. And they range everywhere, anything from nonprofits all the way to cosmetic industry. So they're doing some very cool things. We work with a lot of nonprofits and do events for them as well. And so we reduce our fees to make sure that they're able to make money. We donate our songs. We've done that quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, where they can actually download our music and then we donate a check to that charity.
Yeah.
So we're giving back to our music. You know, we realized a long time, like what we said, it's not about us. It's how we can help our community, pass the torch to others, and continue to help them grow as well as ourselves.
And you know, Deborah, we're firm believers that even though this is a very competitive industry, there is enough for everybody. There is so much work out there right now that we just need to find our niche and we need to service those that we can, but there's plenty of work for everybody. So
Sure.
We're happy to help those in the industry as well. Anything we can do to support anybody in this industry, you know, count us in, just like you do.
Yeah.
Well, you know, talking about a path to success is recognizing what you can do for others. I mean, you've really capitalized on your talents in the music industry, bringing it into the unknown and creating a business plan all around your brand is admirable. And to know that you listen to your clients, and you must love to ask questions. You must love to communicate. Don't you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Don actually meets prior, during, and then after to make sure that everything is taken care of. Because a lot of clients outside the industry really don't understand about production. They don't understand about electricity. They don't understand what the needs are. And if we don't take care of that ahead of time, if he doesn't, it can be a challenge.
Like having the CEO speak on a podium, and then they're going to have a guest speaker who's going to give a presentation. Then the band's going to play. You want to make sure all those production issues do not end up being a stage gremlin for you at the moment.
Right.
You know, you want to make sure all those things are taken care of. Know that we're communicating with the audiovisual team as well as the banquet manager to the person actually going to be the speaking person. So we really take all that into heed and make sure it's a great experience from the beginning to the very end. And that's how we follow up. And that's why we've been around 31 years. Who would have thought that we would start as musicians that ended up speaking, and now we're doing speaking and being a band. So now we're more of a package deal than just the band that's for your entertainment. Now we're also speaking and being the entertainment.
And that came out as our work with the State Department. They had us lecture and do keynote speaking under President Obama's Statecraft Initiative. And so they actually put us to work doing that.
Wow.
So we started doing the keynote speaking, and then at night we would do the big city concerts, you know, to promote American culture throughout the world.
So do you do the speaking together or depending? And so when you're speaking, the topic is around, you know, what they want to hear as far as production wise, or a whole separate different topic?
It depends on what they want. So we do everything from business, because I have a doctorate in business, and of course I'm a college professor, so I've been teaching business forever. So we have the academic side of it, the theories, and then we have the practical side. Don's a great storyteller, so he's great at connecting the stories with the academics. And then on the other hand, we also teach music master classes.
Okay.
So it just depends on what they want from us.
Yeah, and then on top of that, we'll also write a song for that tour, and then we're teaching it to their artist, and then they're performing it with us on stage. And then we're doing the same with their music. So we're both learning in a very big way and learning each other's cultures and creating a long-term relationship.
And what we have found is when we keynote speak during the day and people get to know us, and then we perform at night, there's already that relationship, right? For success has already started to form.
Your family.
Yeah, your family now. You know all about us, right? And we've had a chance to chat with you. It's not kind of this cold thing that happens oftentimes when entertainment comes on, and it's the audience and the band, and there's kind of this glass wall. And then
we make them the stars of the show too.
When
it's appropriate.
Well, back in the day, it used to be, okay, you're a band, you're a speaker. To mix those two is not acceptable. But today, I think clients are looking for people, you know, it's better to bring, you know, one person in than a bunch of other people that have different, you know, talents. Why not take advantage of your overall talents, right?
Especially our global talents.
So funny to say that, Deborah, because that's exactly why the State Department did it. They're like, we get more bang for our buck with you guys.
Yes.
So it started in Budapest, and then we ended up in Fiji and Kiribati. It's actually the same kind of thing we were talking about with the gentleman from South Korea. We actually met this person in Azerbaijan. And then he said, you know, I'm going to be stationed in Budapest. Would you guys like to come and rock Budapest? And in that, he made sure that Dina and I started doing the speaking package with the master classes. And then all of a sudden after that, we get this email, hey, I'm in Fiji. You guys want to come and rock Fiji and Kiribati and Tonga? It was like, oh my God. So we've been really blessed, for one, that we give a great product and that it's been consistent and we're growing. And the best part, you can take us wherever you go.
And you've been a wonderful inspiration to us too, Deborah, watching you and watching your books and your keynote speaking and just how successful you've been. So that's been a shining light for us as well.
Yes, you've been a beacon for us as well.
So
very sweet. That is great. Well, touche, because the hospitality industry is a great foundation to providing these type of services and skills to other entities. And I believe both of us have grown up in the right industry to make things happen, not only for each other, but for ourselves as well. And I appreciate that and totally think you guys rock it. And as a matter of fact, so does Ray. Thinks you guys rock it as well.
Hey, Ray.
He's on here today. Love him so much. And he totally respects you guys and have known you for a long, long time. So it's fun to see each other blossom into new and different things. And Ray, who will be on the show very shortly, eventually here too, will share his story as well. But you've definitely got a lot of fans out there above and beyond just the hospitality industry, but we so appreciate you being here. So I definitely have just a couple more questions for you. Sure. One is, none of us saw this pandemic happening. I mean, I present on future trends and you still don't see this happening, but it's interesting how it does keep rolling around and the hospitality industry gets hit the most. Tell us, each of you, what did you learn? What did you personally learn? Thank God for the book to help you with your brand out there, the stories and all the tips, but what did you personally learn through this pandemic?
Well, this hasn't been our first pivot and turn.
No.
You got to remember, we had the housing boom fall apart. At the same time, Arizona also had a 5-year boycott through the art and meeting industry at the same time happen.
Right.
So we have learned really how to pivot turn a long time ago. And we were really set and determined to make this work as soon as we saw it happen. I mean, instantly we were in recovery mode.
Right. And I think here is that no matter look, we cannot control external environments. We can't control the economy. We can't control healthcare. We can't control political, legal issues that we run into because we travel globally and work globally. But you have to make the most of the situation. You have to not give up. You have to stay positive. You have to pivot and turn to other product lines, right? Other services that you can offer.
And you might have to streamline.
And you oftentimes, we absolutely streamline. The client or our friends that actually have gone out of business is because they've not been able to actually be more effective and efficient. So that means the downside size, and you have to work within your resources.
Right.
And so we're more than happy to do that.
Right. Whereas most of the hospitality industry wasn't prepared as much, even though we've been through this before. So you almost have to take it upon yourself and protect your business, your company, your family and friends at the same time. So kudos to you both for being aware of that from last time, making sure that it doesn't happen again.
Stay lean and mean.
Exactly.
That's what I say. Stay lean and mean.
Absolutely. Well, I have one more question, and Dina, this is for you, and this is probably the toughest question. Now that you both are home a lot together, is Don doing his part in cleaning the house and taking the trash out?
Oh my gosh, Deborah, he's better than I am.
I'm more domesticated.
Yeah, he's definitely more domesticated.
I'm a neat freak.
If you opened up his sock drawer, his socks are color coordinated, all rolled up. If you open my sock drawer, I'm just
right down to our pantry, to our drawer that you pull utensils out. Our guy came to do pictures. He said, "Oh my God, it looks like a surgeon table." Because I have everything laid out precisely, where everybody would just throw that into a drawer. It's not that way.
He's trained me through the years. He is trained me, but I still have my sock drawer.
I just want to make sure. He hasn't been, watching movies on the couch, eating bonbons.
He's a gem. He really is a gem.
That's great. That's great.
Folding neat, all that kind of stuff.
Good better. He washes better. He cleans better.
New skills.
Yeah.
All new skills. That's great. That's great. I'm glad to hear that for sure. Well, I am just so thrilled that you both were able to hang in there with me on this show today, and we're running out of time. But I want people to contact you for any additional questions. So I'm going to put the contact information up there. I really believe that whichever way they want to get in touch with you, along with what, social media links as well, right?
Every avenue of social media. And don't forget, you can also hear our music on all your favorite music platforms too. So while you're working and putting together a proposal, you can hear the Dina Preston Band or watch our YouTube videos. And of course, our book, 31 Cents to 43 Countries, Hardcore Tips to Increasing Profits, available on Amazon.
Deborah, you've been a gem. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that they actually see that. Here we go. Here's some information on your book where they can get it, because it definitely in different formats and everything. I think it's really important to make sure that people really enjoy the book as much as I did as well. So, and we're going to end this show today with your video again. So don't go.
Don't forget to get
Thank you so much. You both are such a delight. Lovely couple. And we'll see you around soon, okay?
Yes. Look forward to it.
Bless you. Bless everybody.
We can't wait to see you all again.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Literally.
Well, that was a lot of fun. No one can say that they have been married for 31 years and still working together successfully is incredible, just incredible. So I just want to thank them, because what they do for the men and women who carry out their American duties, we salute you also, Don and Dina, as well, for doing a very, very good job. As a matter of fact, I know I'm going to enjoy getting together with them with margaritas eventually too. So hope you enjoyed today's segment. If you want to see it again, by all means, take a look at our Facebook or our YouTube channel, or share it with others as well. And if you have any questions, please join us on hello@hospitalitytodaylive.com. We want to thank our sponsor, Planspire, for being with us with this episode as well. Now, the amazing guests just keep coming in. Next up, we have Laura Lee Shapiro, who has been in the hospitality industry for 30 years, working in a variety of areas, DMCs to hotels, and now she is the owner for Where to Next Agency. And I know you're going to want to know, what is that all about, and how and why she pivoted to her new business during the pandemic. As a matter of fact, how can B2B companies like hers serve the hospitality industry, and many takeaways to help you get through this pandemic and more. So don't miss next Tuesday's show right here on HTL. I'm Deborah Gardner. Thank you for joining us. And remember, if you're thinking about it, we're talking about it right here on Hospitality Today Live. And let's leave again with Don and Dina's video. Have a great week, everyone. From Bourbon Street to Abbey Road.